The Arab world wasn't always veiled in black. Not long ago, cities like Cairo, Damascus, and Baghdad pulsed with modern life. Women wore elegant dresses, walked freely in public, and attended universities alongside men. Intellectual discourse flourished. Secular governance, legal reforms, and cultural expression were on the rise. The roots of aspiration toward enlightenment and progress were planted in these cities. This shift was largely due to the British and French mandates, which introduced secular systems and laid the groundwork for modern governance. These changes set Arab nations on a trajectory toward modernity. However, that trajectory was short-lived. Thinkers like Hassan al-Banna, Sayyid Qutb, Abul Ala Maududi, and Muhammad al-Ghazali saw the rise of secular laws, women's liberation, and Western-style education as a calculated attempt to dismantle Islamic identity and replace it with Western moral and cultural norms, so they launched an ideological war against secularization. Movements like the Muslim Brotherhood embodied this resistance. However, in the early stages, they were aggressively suppressed by nationalist Arab regimes that saw them as a threat to state power. Chief among these regimes was Gamal Abdel Nasser's Egypt. Nasser didn't only reject theocracy, but also monarchism. His growing popularity and ambition to lead a united Arab world posed an existential threat to the conservative monarchies of the Gulf, especially Saudi Arabia. King Faisal of Saudi Arabia recognized that he and the Muslim Brotherhood shared a common enemy. Under the guise of defending Islam and combating communism, he extended support to Brotherhood figures who had been imprisoned or exiled by Nasser's regime. In 1962, King Faisal convened the General Islamic Conference in Mecca, which led to the creation of the Muslim World League, a Saudi-sponsored institution designed to counter Nasser's pan-Arab secularism with a pan-Islamic ideological front. It became the engine of Saudi-backed Islamic revivalism. What followed was the launch of what would later be known as the Islamic Awakening, an orchestrated campaign to re-Islamize the Arab world. In 1967 with the Six-Day War, Nasser's crushing defeat dealt a fatal blow to secular Arab nationalism. His ideological grip on the region dissolved almost overnight. With Nasser weakened and the Islamic Awakening's infrastructure in place, the Arabs' susceptibility to maintain the modernization brought by the mandates was shattered in real time. With billions in petrodollars, Saudi Arabia funded thousands of schools, mosques, and Islamic publications across the Arab and Muslim world. Clerics, armed with state-sanctioned messaging, replaced intellectuals. Secular curricula were gutted and replaced with rote memorization of doctrine. The hijab, once a rarity in places like Cairo and Beirut, was reframed as an Islamic obligation. Gender mixing, freedom of thought, even music and cinema were labeled Western degeneracy. Within 2 generations, Arab women lost the freedoms their mothers had enjoyed. Universities became pulpits. Religious dogma shaped civil institutions. Entire societies that once flirted with secular modernity were now enforcing religious orthodoxy. The transformation was rapid, deliberate, and well-funded. Today, the very engine that reshaped the Arab world is no longer confined to the Middle East. It's making its way into Europe. Europe now stands at risk of repeating the Arab world's fall because of ideological infiltration. The same model used to Islamize the Arab world is being applied to Europe. Gulf-funded mosques and Islamic centers are spreading across major cities. Religious schools, community centers, and lobbying groups push for Sharia-based accommodations under the language of multiculturalism. Separate swimming pools, halal-only cafeterias, calls to prayer in public. Free speech is being eroded under the guise of hate speech. Secularism is demonized as intolerance, while religious conservatism is portrayed as empowerment. The same social pressures and ideological tactics that once transformed Cairo and Amman are now visible in Brussels, London, and Berlin. The question now is whether Europe can learn from the Arab world's fall, or whether it too will walk willingly into ideological submission. The veils, the censorship, the religious courts, they're not distant cultural artifacts. If Europe doesn't act, it will wake up to find that the monster didn't stop at the Arab world's borders. It just took its time crossing over.